Today I'm going to show you the car that I just picked up for $1,000 and why the dealership quoted the previous owner $10,000 to fix it. Ooh-wee. I bet you there's not a lot of fluid getting through this thing. Here is what we call the brains of the operation. There. It's out. There is the valve body. I don't see any material in there, nothing. Brand new one at a whopping $10,296. 2014 Volkswagen Jetta GLI 30th Anniversary Edition. Now I bought it sight unseen, and clearly you can tell it's pretty dirty on the outside and super dirty on the inside. And apparently the transmission is done for. At the top of this invoice is what the dealership's tech said is actually wrong with the vehicle and how they went about diagnosing it. As you can see, the original complaint was they were slowing down from the 3-2 shift and felt it jump and slip. The wrench light came on, they shut off, started it back up. It was in limp mode. They found a P0746 pressure control solenoid A performance code, and they performed test plan and found grinding noise inside the transmission. They also pulled a sample of the fluid and found metal particles in the fluid, and then found the transmission to be failed. Now, not only was it a $10,000 fix to have the transmission replaced, the thing was also in need in front brake pads and rotors, costing about $821 from the dealership. Now sure, at this point the transmission could actually be at fault here, but we don't know that, so we gotta do some testing. Now in my experience, a P0746 usually has to do with a circuit problem or a solenoid fault, but it could actually be a faulty transmission, and we don't know that yet. So what we need to do is our own diagnosis on the vehicle and see if we can't get to the bottom of this thing and if it actually needs a transmission. Now, first up, what I want to do is pull codes and see if we have any codes stored in the system, that P0746, which I'm not sure if we will because the battery was dead when I picked it up, and I didn't see the check engine light on. So let's see here. Transmission, have a fault code, no DTCs found. Let me just check the engine module just in case. A sporadic passive malfunction lamp. That doesn't give me any direction either. Now, being that we don't have any codes, what I actually should do is drive this thing and see how it actually performs, if we're stuck in a limp mode, or what it does for shifting here quickly. So let's take it for a quick cruise and see if we notice anything super weird with the transmission, if there's actual issue with it. All right, now we're doing this at night, so it's gonna be difficult for everybody to see here, but let's put it in drive and see if it does anything abnormal here. Oh yeah, it jerked a little bit in just drive alone. Let's see if it shifts in any gear here. Okay, well it did shift. It feels a little jerkier than normal, but there's no check engine light yet. And it's not in a limp mode. Let me turn my brights on. Even reverse felt a little weird there too. Back in drive. Oh yeah, it just kind of harsh shifts into first. Really harsh. Let's give her the beans a little bit. Oh, it's got some power. It shifted. Okay, it's got a little bit of a harsh shifting. It is downshifting and upshifting like it's supposed to. It's kind of a rainy, wet night, so let's pull it back in and get a look at the fluid just to kind of give us an idea. I don't really want to drive it too far if it is going to leave me stranded here. Now, I've worked on quite a bit of Volkswagens in the past, but I've never had to deal with the DSG transmission. Now, I know sometimes the dual clutch features are supposed to be kind of almost a harsher engagement, so maybe there's a little bit of a gray area there that I don't quite understand. I have driven dual clutch transmissions before. It just doesn't feel right. So my thought at this point is to get a sample of the fluid, and I want to see what the filter looks like. And on these Volkswagens, they're actually underneath the battery box, right up on top. So let's go there first and see what we can see if there's any particles in that filter. Now, the reason I'm going after this approach first is because I want to get a good starting point. Plus, I didn't get any more codes in that module or no limp mode. So let me show you how to get access to the filter and see what the fluid condition looks like. You gotta start by removing this battery and get these out of the way. Remove this hold down bolt. Now we can come out with this battery. Now this has gotta be disassembled too. This is one hose. Got another hose on the airbox here, and several Torx bits on the airbox itself. Get the one clamp out of the way here, and this whole airbox can come up now. Now I am going to remove this lower portion of the airbox as well. And when this thing fights me a little bit with the little grommets, silicone spray. Now Now the battery tray has to be lifted up and removed too, because the filter housing is actually underneath of that. Look how filthy that thing is, just dirty. All right, now with everything removed, you can see this is how we get access to the filter. It's just like a typical cartridge style like you would see on an oil filter too, so that's just how it is on the transmission. And what I'm actually gonna do is spray this with compressed air. As you can see, this engine bay is filthy, filthy, and I don't wanna drop any more crap in there if I don't have to. Ooh-wee. So that probably isn't a good sign to see right from the get-go here. So here is the filter for the DSG transmission. It is very, very dark. So having this plugged up could also be a huge, huge problem for this thing. And if it is plugged up, that means you've got oil starvation, some of these clutch packs, and I really don't know how sensitive these things are quite yet. So before I do any of that, I want to drain the fluid from this thing just to get an idea of what the condition of all the fluid actually looks like. All right, so what I need to do is get this oil drained out of this thing. And I'm gonna try to catch it in this clean jug that I got here. There's nothing in it. Just so I can get a good visual and inspection on that fluid. And all we gotta do is get this bottom plug out here, 14 millimeter hex. Get that out of the way. Fluid comes out, might be a little bit that comes out immediately. Yeah, just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna let that drain just a little bit here because there's another plug up in there that I'm gonna have to remove. And once I get that other plug out of the way, then a lot more fluid's gonna come out of this. Try to get this other plug out of here without making too big of a mess. It's an 8 millimeter, I think. Yeah, that's what it is. Try not to splash myself with too much of this. It's probably gonna come out like a banshee here. There we go. And here's that plug that I'm talking about. So that actually goes up in there. When you fill it, you fill through this plug and it drains over. It'll keep that transmission nice and level. And then you don't have to have a dipstick on it or anything like that. So here is what the fluid currently looks like. And it does have a hue of amber to it, but it does not look good. Now, the one thing to note is I don't see a bunch of glittery stuff in it. I mean, it's dark, but it's not, you know, metal shavings and stuff like they claimed at the dealer. I really don't know what they did with the diagnostics of it. Look at this filter once again. This thing is just plugged up. What if I cut this open? What a unique filter. It's like a toilet paper roll. Oh yeah, look at that. I bet you there's not a lot of fluid getting through this thing though, if it's that plugged up. I don't know what to think about this quite yet here. So I think at this point, instead of me just gambling on some fluid in a filter, because there might actually be more going on with this solenoid, I just can't recreate it yet. I'm gonna try and get the valve body out of this transmission. I'm gonna get this panel down right here and get the valve body out just so I can test it, because if I have to order parts anyways, I might as well just order the solenoid too while it's out, and then we can just put it all back in and drive it and cross our fingers. So that's gonna be my next plan of attack. Let's get that valve body out. All right, we gotta get this turbo piping out of the way. Everything's just so plasticky on everything. Let's see if a bunch of oil pools up and piles out of this thing. Oh, actually it's not that bad. Oh, God. Well, that was on way harder than it needed to be. All right, now you can see, looking at this thing, it's pretty easy to get out of here. However, there's a side cover too that's gotta come off, and I think I gotta remove this tire and this. I probably could squeeze it out, but I'll get this out of the way, and then I have more access. You can see what I'm doing then better too. All right, and here is that other side cover. We just gotta get these bolts off. All right, you can see now this is the side cover off. That goes into here, and you'll see once I get this off, it's all part of the same unit of the valve body here. You have to, I think you gotta get this off because you gotta make sure this is completely seated in here. I think this is the best way to do it, honestly. You probably can do it the other way, but I am not sure. There's the bulkhead electrical connector up here that you gotta be very, very careful with, so you don't wanna break it. If we do, we'll be sad. All right, now here is what we call the brains of the operation. This is the valve body. And I think all of these bolts right here come off. This one connector's gotta come off. And then there's 5 bolts on this side that's gotta come off too. I wanna make sure I get the right ones because you don't have to take all the stuff off. And I don't wanna loosen these up if I don't have to, because there's some fine torque specs on these. I don't wanna loosen any of them up. I just wanna do the ones that hold it to the case here. First glance, I'm not seeing anything that's like abnormal with it. Nothing like busted wires or anything on here. No exploded solenoid or anything like that. But I do want to get them off and then just, you know, resistance test. These are the pressure solenoids way up here, these two, but it's going to be way easier if we just get this on a bench and actually make it pretty simple to get this thing out. The only thing I really need to be cautious about is busting this. So it's just got to come straight out. And I think I got enough room right here to get this out. So should be good. This is the first one I've ever had apart, but it's not that daunting of a task, thankfully. Probably the trickiest part of all of this, because this piece has to come out, right? We don't want to pry this thing too hard. Oh, it actually is going to come up real easy. We just don't want to force anything, because I don't want to break none of this if I don't have to. I'll be sad if I do. Now I just got to try to pull this thing straight out without putting a lot of tension on anything. There, it's out. I didn't drop it yet. There is the valve body. Now I did separate these bolts from top to bottom, and honestly they're all the same size. I just wanted to make sure, because some valve bodies, when you take them apart, sometimes these bolts are different sizes and you do not want to mix those up. So right or wrong, they are the same size throughout, and it's just these two here, these two here, and this one, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these need to come out. You don't need to touch any of this other stuff. These are your two pressure solenoids. What I want to do is just test resistance, because I think these are interchangeable. I think it doesn't matter which, you know, if you wanted to replace these, you totally could. So I just want to check resistance with a meter quick, just comparing both to each other, just to maybe see if we have maybe a resistance, like an electrical side fault going on with one of these things, or there's a little gasket in between here too that could be shot. But either way, I felt like this was the thing that needed to be taken apart so we could test some more stuff before I just threw fluid in it and have the same problem. All right, so let's see what we got here. 5.6 ohms and 5.6 ohms. So on the electrical side, it's probably okay. Unless there's some blockage between. I mean, there could be on the mechanical side that something's screwed up. This is almost just like a one-way valve, you know, it must open and close. So like something in the mechanical side could be plugged up here or here. And just judging by how dirty that fluid was and everything like that, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some blockage in this unit, you know, causing this thing to do what it's doing. Why don't I pull this? I'll pull this piece off here and just pull these two valves off once, just to see them underneath. I think it'd be pretty delicate. This is kind of a cheesy piece of plastic in my opinion here, huh? And it's seated on every connector. I do not want to break this thing. There. Voila. There is the AKA harness, I'll call it. And all the pins and everything look great on that, so I don't see an issue with this thing. This is for the K1 clutch and this is for the K2 clutch, but this is pressure control A, so we're going to take this one off. And you can see there's this little screen on here. I don't see any material in that or nothing. And everything looks normal there too. Gosh, you know, I had somewhat of a suspicion that something in here was going to be plugged up, or like this was going to be blown out, this little gasket. And this is all looking really good. I don't see anything blocking anything in there. Nothing's plugged up, no chunks, anything. It's leaving me with a little bit of a puzzler because it's doing that jerky thing. So as of now, I haven't come up with a concrete answer. I mean, you know, I'm just ohm testing this stuff. There's no load on these solenoids, you know, so there could be something still going on there. And I don't see any like gasket blown out. I don't see any of the, you know, passageway stuff plugged in there, nothing like that. All the stuff is looking fine. I have half of a notion to say maybe this filter was the culprit all along and the dirty fluid. But just in my head, I've seen so many things in the past with pressure control valves and stuff like that that just naturally fail. And so I'm kind of leaning towards I might order some fluid and a filter, and then I might actually just get those two solenoids, another gasket, and throw this all back in there and see what it does. I still got to get some more information and find out where I can get parts for this thing, or if I can go anywhere other than the dealership. If anybody knows anything about Volkswagens, you made it this far, and want to give me a helping hand, shoot me a message and let me know if I'm on the right track here, if there's something else that I should be looking for. But otherwise, other than that, I think that's kind of the realm I'm going to take. I'm going to take that path of putting those 2 solenoids on here, and I might just test all these ohm-wise and just verify, because I think these 2 are the same, and looks like these all might be the same as well as these 2 are the same. And all the electrical connectors, all that stuff looks really good. I even looked at all these pins. The pins that go on here are nice and tight. They look clean. I don't see any breaks in the wire, breaks in the plastic. So everything is actually looking fairly good. And I just find it hard to believe. I just don't think that there's an issue with the transmission. Actually, let me show you something, because I actually thought I saw metal shavings in it. But I think I was wrong. It's just the casting, but I'll show you. So I thought originally that this was all metal shavings back here, but it's not. This is all stuck to the actual casting of the transmission. You know, it's part of the case on it. Just seems kind of a weird thing, but I've seen this before where castings just, you know, blow up like this and they just do a poor job cleaning it, and it just stays in the vehicle and indefinitely, and it never has an issue. But all this is looking fine underneath. You can kind of look up in here, all the gears and all that stuff look really good. You know, I don't see a whole bunch of wear in there or anything like that. I kind of see that looks really good up in there. So I'm going to stop there, and this is going to be my little Volkswagen rebuilding series. Again, if somebody in the comments has any information about these DSG transmissions, I'm kind of a newbie green to this one. Maybe I should just get this whole valve body unit and just be done with it. But I really don't know the answer to that. And I don't think I have to, just judging by the characteristics of what's going on with it right now. And who knows, maybe it was just this plugged up filter, but I'm thinking there's probably more going on with that pressure control K1 clutch situation there too. So in the next video, I should have parts and all the stuff to go back together with this thing, and we will try round 2 with it, and hopefully I get some nicer weather here, because the snow is a-coming. So thanks for watching this video. We will catch you in the next part of the Volkswagen series. Peace.